Hey everyone, this is Mike from Mike's Do It Yourself. Today I want to show you how to put in a control arm, lower and upper, and a lateral rod on a 2000 Toyota 4Runner. And I'm working on the lower control arm right now. And to get it out, what you're going to need to do is use a lot of force, because it's 107 foot-pounds torque on these nuts on the bottom control arm, on the lower control arm. But the first thing you want to do is use some PB blaster, or use some spray to loosen up the threads. That way you can get this off. So that's the first thing you want to do. And then if it still doesn't come off, you want to hit it with a mallet like that, and then it should come off. You know, once you've loosened up the bolt. You can see I'm putting this one back on, but it doesn't always line up. Well, like I said, these are going to be 107 foot-pounds once you tighten the nuts up. Now this may or may not line up. And then if it doesn't line up, you may need to use a strap. Okay, the bolt wasn't lining up, so I went ahead and used a strap, and I got the strap attached to the back of the rear shock, right behind it on the axle. And then the other side goes right to the frame, right in front of the gas tank. So between those 2 points, you have the buckle, and if you just tighten the buckle, it should pull the rear axle a little bit forward so that you can get the bolt in. And you still may need to screw it in a little bit to get it all the way through. And don't worry about your threads, they'll be fine. Okay, and like I said, these are going to be 107 foot-pounds of torque. Now for your upper control arm, on the left side, it's a little bit harder to get to. As you can see, the lateral rod is somewhat in the way. But once you've hit it with some spray to loosen it up, you can knock out the bolt that way on the rear side of it. And then on the front side, it's right by the gas tank. So once that's loose, you can take the bolt out that way. And also you have a clip, so you'll need to push in on each side and then push that clip out. You can see that. There's a clip right here. You may need a flathead screwdriver just to push in on each side to get that out. And then once you get the bolts out, you want to hit them with some spray blaster. That way they'll go in much easier. And you'll give it a little bit of rust protection too. And when you're ready to pull the upper control arm out, just remember what side the tab goes on, and that way you'll know how to put the new one in. The best way is to lift up and pull it back towards your rear tire. Once you get the first bolt in for the upper control arm, you may need to use a screwdriver and just pry this back and forth a little bit until this bolt slides through. I did find that if you put the front bolt in first, it's easier to line up the rear bolt of the upper control arm. That way you can pry it with a screwdriver back and forth if you need to. But this one, it seemed to line right up if you got the front one in first. And then this will be torqued to 64 foot-pounds, the front and the back of the lower control or the upper control arm. You've got one bolt there, and you've got another bolt right there, and that'll be for your lateral rod to get that out. Now for any of these, there's a 2-inch lift on this 4Runner. If it is high enough, you won't need to suspend anything or lift anything to get these parts off. So just keep that in mind. Now if you see something that may need to be supported, then you can do that. But for these parts, it shouldn't be necessary. So just keep an eye on, your own suspension, and just see, if something needs to be supported, go ahead and support it. Okay, and then for your new lateral rod, it shouldn't matter which way it goes in. It's going to be the same on both sides. So. Hopefully that goes right in. And these are going to be tightened to 64 foot-pounds too, so on both sides. I wanted to show you what they look like out of the vehicle. You can see how that one is starting to crack right there. If I can hold the camera right. But yeah, you could see the big crack there. Now once you get a lot of vibration or movement in the rear suspension, you might want to look at your bushings because they very well could be cracked and moving on you. You can see they're cracked on both sides. Now these are a little bit harder to determine. Sometimes there'll be movement. Sometimes you can move these because they'll be detached inside, but I can't move these at all. But just because you can't move them doesn't mean that they're still good. So keep an eye on the bushings, and like I said, if you have any extra movement in the rear suspension, you'll want to check your bushings. Now the part numbers may vary depending on your VIN number, so it may not be the same for your Toyota 4Runner. Well, once you have everything tightened to torque specs, you're done. Well, I hope this has been helpful. This has been Mike from Mike's Do It Yourself. Thanks for watching, and good luck on your next home or automotive project.